RWBY Chibi episode 19. Now, I'm a couple of days behind on checking this episode out, but I finally got the chance to look at it, and honestly, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really funny episode. They changed up the formula just a tiny bit because we actually only got two longer skits compared to three smaller skits, especially the second one was definitely longer than the first. But I really enjoyed them. I enjoyed getting to see Zwei, very varied uses of Zwei in this episode, which I loved. We got to see the whole first skit was about Zwei basically being a super corgi, and he saves Jean, and he saves, for whatever reason, Ren from a bomb. It wasn't like he was in a situation where he was outside the school or something really silly. It was like, no, he's in his room, but for whatever reason, there's a bunch of dynamite and a timer going off. So, just silly situations. He somehow stopped Cinder, Mercury, and Emerald, I guess, from robbing the old guy again. And the way they did it, where everyone's like, I'm saved, I really love that because they even did it with the old guy, but because he technically doesn't speak, he was just like, and it was supposed to be him, saying, I'm saved. So I really love the way they did that. Cinder saying, like, curse you, you adorable corgi and stuff. I really enjoyed that. So I like the first skit. And then we got to see one of my favorite things, which made me laugh like crazy when I first saw it, but Tumble's Eye, which was fantastic. It wasn't, we didn't get to see it as much. Also, there's wind in the room, I guess, which kind of made it funny this time. But, he's bouncing around. They even had the little squeaky sound effect again. But I love seeing that. I love seeing him being used as, like, the final weapon to take out Blake at the end of it. But I like what they did with Zwei in this episode. It was really funny. The second skit itself, I really, really loved. It had a bunch of stuff that made me laugh. Just the opening segment, before they even get to the actual pillow fight, the opening segment with the boys was really funny because they had Sun and Neptune. First they had Sun drop out of the tree. It made me think of Penny when they did like the Junior Detectives thing when she flipped into the chair and hit her head on the table, but they don't acknowledge it. And he once he just pillow fight, he just drops out of the tree and then he flips up. He's like, sweet, and I'm like, that's just funny to me. For some reason, it's like that minor thing where they should be really hurt. Like, he dropped head first out of a tree, and then he just hopped up like, this is great news. So it makes me laugh even more when they don't acknowledge that type of stuff. So there's that, and then they do like the little spinning thing, which I thought was so funny. They were just like so gleeful in the way that they were just like, yay, and they're spinning. And of course the animation, because it looked like they were just spinning, on nothingness, so it made it funnier. And then I don't know if this was a nod to the fandom or what the case was, but this little spot where they had Neptune realize he was still holding on the Sun's hand, and he's like, oh, and he like takes his hand away. I thought that was funny. I was like, I don't know why they put that in there, but it made me laugh. And then of course, whenever somebody throws a book at somebody's head, it makes me laugh, and that was hilarious when Ren. And it was just in the middle of the sentence, because at first I was like, okay, it seems like Ren is annoyed because as soon as Neptune mentions pillow fight, he's like, oh, they're gonna be, silly and kind of pervy, so he was annoyed by it. And then it's like, nope, he was totally involved. He wanted to be a part of it. Still doesn't make sense why he cut Sun off by, throwing basically a book like a shuriken straight at his head. And then, of course, Sun says, ow, my brain box, which made it even better. But I loved all that stuff in the opening. And then we get the pillow fight, which was actually really sweet. It made me think of Volume 2 premiere. It was like, this is basically the pillow fight version that they had of the food fight, where they're actually doing like really cool moves and stuff, and I guess modifying everything. I don't know what Gang put on her gauntlets to shoot pillows, but it was all really sweet. I was like, this is actually kind of cool. Like, I would actually love to see this as like the second step to the food fight that we had in the premiere of the second volume. But I really loved it. I was like, this is actually kind of cool because they're actually flipping around and stuff and doing moves. But at the same time, of course, it's hilarious because they're getting like destroyed by pillows, and like when Blake takes out Ruby, when she uses Weiss's glyph and she flies at her and then she throws two pillows and she destroys her and knocks her out. And then she dodges a pillow from Yang, and so Weiss gets knocked out, and she's using her shadows and stuff. And then this was clearly a nod to the fandom when she lands on the bed and then she like taps the bed and like winks at Yang. I was like, clearly they did that for a reason. So I loved all of that stuff. I really enjoyed it. And then they have, the boys do the fight where they're like, oh, this isn't, what I thought it was going to be. So they have their own pillow fight. And I love that too, because it was just really silly. And it lasts like 2.5 seconds because they destroy. Of course, Jean get or it's not even Jean. See, I'm screwing up. That was Sun, but Sun he gets knocked out, and then Ren just trips over him. He's like, "Oh, my foot!" So he's down, and then Neptune is like, "We gotta pause because I have a feather in my eye." So I really love what they did with the second skit. I enjoyed the first one too, like I said, but really loved this one. Definitely want to know what you guys thought about it, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. If there's one thing I would have loved from this episode that I was kind of surprised we didn't get to see, was actually more of the villain stuff. Like, I know that was kind of a big thing in the last episode, but I was surprised we didn't get to see more of the villains. I was honestly surprised. I was glad that they were in it, because, you know, they're just knocked out. But I was kind of hoping for more villain stuff, because we got that little bit in the last one, which was definitely a good sketch for the last episode. But looking forward to some more villain stuff, and of course, more of the characters. I didn't see any hints in this one where it's like, oh, we heard someone else's voice, at least not that I noticed, which kind of would have been hard to notice. There were only a couple of people on screen at any time, so I don't think there was any little hints or anything like, oh, this person might be showing up soon. But of course, looking forward to some new characters coming out. Definitely enjoyed this one. As far as a big question for this, I would love to know what you guys thought of the fight. Like, as far as how it actually looked, I was honestly like, this is kind of sweet, even though it's still like once they got hit by the pillows, it became instantly funny again. But as they're dodging and they're flipping and stuff, I'm like, this is actually just kind of cool. And then they get hit and they get knocked out by pillows, and then it's funny again. But I was like, I like the fight. I thought it was actually a cool looking fight that was also funny, just like Volume 2 is funnier. I don't know, it's kind of unfair because the volume 2 opening was like basically the whole episode was a food fight, so it's kind of hard to say like what's funny or not. But I think this might have been funnier because that actually was, even though it was ridiculous because they were fighting with food, it was basically just awesome action, and it was really just meant to be like, look how awesome, you know, we've gotten using the software that we use for the show. So really enjoyed it, but like I said, I want to know what you guys thought about the fight and what you guys thought about the episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and of course, thanks for watching.